Alright guys, I got the hat on again for one last Indiana Jones review. Well, it should be because they should have ended after 3, but they apparently made a 4 and a 5. But nonetheless, we're going to talk more Indiana Jones. So Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, the third film in the Indiana Jones franchise, and probably should have been the last one, directed by Steven Spielberg, came out in 1989, the year of my birth. This is, well, I guess I better give the summary first. Let's do that. So here's the plot summary. So essentially, Indiana Jones gets dragged into a quest in a time crunch to find the Holy Grail as he has to find his father, who was also looking for the Holy Grail, who was kidnapped, so he's got to save his dad, and then they have to go up against Nazis and prevent them from getting to the Holy Grail. That's right, the Holy Grail from the Bible and all that. That's your summary. If you've never seen this movie, take that summary and go watch it, because this is one of the best movies you're ever going to watch. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. Now, if you're sticking around, we're going to talk about this thing so spoilery that, you know, I've been giddy. I've been wanting to talk about this film from the get-go, because this is my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I've put it out there before. It's the best Indiana Jones, and it is one of the best like action adventure films you're gonna see, bar none. Like, it's so stinking good. Harrison Ford returning as Indiana Jones is incredible. This is his best turn as the character. I think he gets a little more to do in this, and adding Sean Connery as his dad, who is also fantastic. They have great chemistry. They both act their butts off in this, and they just add this great dimension to Indiana Jones' character that we didn't get in the previous 2 installments, and I just think it adds on what they built in Raiders. I felt we lost a little bit in Temple of Doom. This just, you know, makes him flourish. And what helps is also at the beginning of the movie, you get that whole opening sequence with the young Indiana Jones played by River Phoenix, who I think does an excellent job. And the limited amount of screen time he gets, he just exudes a young version of Harrison Ford. And, you know, it's cool because we get to see how he gets the scar on his chin. You know, we get to see where he kind of develops his whip, love of whip. We get to see where he gets his hat. We get to see where his fear of snakes come from. And it's done in such a fun, semi-organic way that it doesn't really take away. Like some, you know, when you get origin stories of characters, they kind of ham-fist it and like, oh, that's how they got all that cool stuff? Okay, it's not that interesting. But I think here it works and it's fun. And the other part about this, I think this might be one of Spielberg's best directed films. It is certainly one of his best edited films. From the beginning to the end, it is just nonstop, just... You're just going and chugging along with this story. You're never bored. There's always something happening, and I was grinning from start to finish. It is such a great experience. Perfect by no means. I mean, I think there's a couple of performances in here that are a little weak, like the lady who plays Elsa Schneider, Alison Doody. She, you know, is good. Like, she's good. Don't get me wrong. I don't think there's bad acting in this, but I think she wasn't quite up to the level as Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. And I think that your main bad guy here, played by Julian Glover as Walter Donovan, you know, he's a typical kind of, I won't say a mustache twirly villain. He gets close to that, but he's not really menacing. He's just kind of there to kind of keep the quest for the Grail going. But then, of course, you get John Rhys-Davies coming back as Sala. You got Denholm Elliott coming back as Marcus Brody, and they're a lot of fun. They do what they do. I missed having John Rhys-Davies in Temple of Doom, so it was great having him come back in this one, which I think is a good sign for Dial of Destiny that he's coming back for that one, so very excited about that. So I think the acting is great, and like I said, Harrison Ford and Sean Connery, every scene with the two of them in there is absolute gold. There's just that great stretch from when they, you know, run into each other, when Indy's going to save him, from there to being tied in the chair in the room that's on fire, to riding in the motorcycle together, to being on the beach together, being in the airplane together, being on the blimp together. There's just so much absolute gold when these two guys are on screen playing father and son. And I think it's funny because Sean Connery's not that much older than Harrison Ford, but he's playing his dad in this, so I think that's a little funny, but it doesn't matter because they have such great chemistry. It is so awesome, and I just am grinning from ear to ear every time. Just thinking about them being on screen together is fantastic. And I wish they would have done another installment with these two. It would have been so much fun to see these guys on screen together again, and those character roles, they're absolute, just great. Some other stuff I really love about this film. I think all the great one-liners, like Harrison Ford punching the Nazi guy out of the dirigible, the blimp, the giant stinking blimp. He, pretending to be a guy taking tickets, and he just punches him and just says, "No ticket," and everybody's flashed their ticket. I think it's a great gag. I think they blend a lot of comedy in this so well. It works. It's balanced, I think, near perfection. I know Spielberg likes to insert comedy into his stuff, and here in Indiana Jones, it's warranted, and I think it's great. It adds a little bit to the, pulpy nature of what the film series is supposed to be. Like, yeah, does it get a little over the top? Sure, like a freaking airplane going through a tunnel and just passing by Sean Connery and Harrison Ford. Who doesn't love that scene? Is it cheesy? Yes, but it works in the context of this, and it's just, you're going to smile. You're going to laugh a little bit. It is goofy, but it works. It's so good. Other stuff in this film, I do like the mystery angle of it. I do like, the tracking down, step by step. I don't think it's as quite as, not complex, but it's not as grounded as I think Raiders of the Lost Ark's, journey was. But, you go from point A to point B, and you're following, with the Grail Diary, and you're following all this stuff, and these two guys that have knowledge of the Holy Grail and all that. It just works. It works, and it's a fun adventure, and is it a little unbelievable at times, like finding the giant X on the floor for X marks the spot? Yeah, it's silly, but it works. Of course, the 3 trials at the end, I think it's pretty solid. It's a lot of fun, when they finally piece together what they have to do to get to the Grail. Of course, love the Grail scene where the bad guy there, Walter Donovan, takes the wrong cup and drinks it, and then they use the special effects, I think, to a little better effect than they did in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So clearly the effects and stuff made a jump in this film, which is great. But, there were times in the film, I guess, that obviously it was blue screen, or obviously they were using models, and that doesn't really take me out of the movie. It's just something I notice more now, and looking back on it, that it dates the film a little bit, but it doesn't fully hurt the film for me. Like, yeah, some of the special effects, maybe not great, but there's certain things they do that do still work. That would be a little bit of a knock. And of course, John Williams knocks the music out of the stratosphere with this one. While the story is so fun and so good, there are a couple little elements, like, even though I think it's funny, like the bit where they go and they run into Hitler and Hitler signs the Grail. I think that's a fun bit. But at the same time, it was almost like, man, did we have to do another one of those, like we have to veer off to go get the book again, to go do this other thing. I don't know. That one little scene might be my only big nitpick for, like, I feel like it took me away from the story. The story took a little bit of a divergent path when I think they could have written it in a different way to kind of keep it streamlined. But whatever, that's just me. I guess you get that great gag, and I do love the gag of Hitler signing the book. I think that's fun. I mean, one of the other great jokes is, the scene where Harrison Ford is just talking to the bad guys and talking about how they can't find Marcus Brody because he's so cultured, and he's got a 2-day head start, and they'll never find him, and it just hard cuts to him just being a buffoon in the middle of this market, not knowing what he's doing, where he's going. I think it's a great gag, and I laughed so hard. That's an actual knee slapper for me. I think that's a great bit. But overall, I think Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is the best Indiana Jones film. I'm sure other people would prefer Raiders, but this film, to me, is just the one that I can just pay attention to the whole time, have a great time with it, smile the entire time. A little more fun than Raiders, but I mean, Raiders is a fantastic film. But I think, if Raiders is here, I think it's right here. Last Crusade is just a smidge above Raiders for me, and I'm sure people will flip-flop it, and nothing wrong with that. You're going to have your own personal taste, and that's all that matters. So yeah, with that, guys, I'm going to finish up this review for The Last Crusade. If you could please hit that like button, subscribe button, the little bell notification to be notified whenever I drop new videos. It would be greatly appreciated. And of course, leave your comments down in the comment section. What do you think of this Indiana Jones film? Are there favorite moments of yours, or is this not your favorite film in the franchise? I'd be very curious. Leave those down in those comments. And of course, we have one film left before we get to the Dial of Destiny. The film that I always joked about didn't exist, and I'll actually be rewatching it for the first time probably since it came out back in 2008. It's been a long time since I've watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'm a little nervous going into it, but I'm hoping maybe it's not as bad as I remember. But we'll find out next time, guys, when I'll see you then.